William Shakespeare. The Life of William Shakespeare. He was born on April 23, 1564, in his family home in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. We assume his birthday is on April 23 because at this time period, it was a tradition for newborn babies to get baptized 3 days after birth. Historical documents indicate that Shakespeare's baptism occurred on the 26th of April in 1564. William spent his childhood being raised in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He had a huge family which consisted of 7 siblings, 4 sisters and 3 brothers. However, most of his sisters died due to the Black Plague and only one survived. Around this time, hygiene wasn't very important and they took baths once a year. Children were the last to take a bath, and by then, the water would be black. William, along with his brothers, attended grammar school at the age of 7. School at this time lasted literally all day, and they had no gym, class, or sports. However, William was pulled out of school at the age of 14 for unknown reasons. At the age of 18, Shakespeare impregnated his girlfriend Anne Hathaway. William was pretty much forced to marry Anne, and together they had 3 children. Their firstborn child, Susanna, was born on May 26, 1583. Two years later, they had twins, Hamnet and Judith. However, Hamnet died at the age of 11 due to Black Death. William wrote 4 types of plays: tragedies, comedies, histories, and late romance. His plays were performed in the Global Theatre and the Blackfriars Theatre. His plays were performed by the King's Men and the Lord Chamberlain's Men. William was more than just a playwright. He was a jack of all trades. He wrote sonnets, teached for the Houghton family, and was theatre owner. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, at the age of 52. He died in Warwickshire, England. In his will, he left his wife one item: the second best bed. Even though William is long gone, we still study and read his works. The central themes that run in William's work is still relevant today. We can easily relate ourselves or a situation with one of his stories. The King of England in 1606 was James I, a Stuart. There was no Tudor successor to the throne of England. Therefore, Elizabeth I chose James VI of Scotland to succeed her. After her death, in 1603, James VI of Scotland became James I of England. Elizabeth I had been instrumental in the death of her cousin, Mary Queen of Scots, who was beheaded. On her deathbed, Elizabeth wanted to ease her way into heaven, so she chose Mary's son James to become the next King of England. The appointment of James I was a good political move, unifying England and Scotland under one king. Macbeth, a tribute to King James I. Shakespeare wrote Macbeth in 1606 during King James' reign. King James was a devout advocate of the divine right of kings. The setting is Scotland, King James' home. Banquo was an ancestor of James and is shown in the play to be a virtuous person. James believed himself to be an expert on witchcraft. James had an interest in faith healing. Shakespeare demonstrated the Elizabethan belief that the country is stable only if the king is good and virtuous. Elizabethans believed that evil occurs in darkness, which is a recurring theme in Macbeth. Shakespeare included a lot of blood and murder, which the Elizabethans expected to see in the play. The play was considered a thriller, a threat to the anointed king, and the perceived evil behind the threat, and alluded to the gunpowder plot of 1605. History behind Macbeth. Macdonald's rebellion and the invasion of Sweden took place at different times. Shakespeare combined them. Duncan is supposed to have been killed by 4 hired servants. Shakespeare has Macbeth commit the murder. History represents Banquo as equal in guilt with Macbeth. Shakespeare whitewashes Banquo's character as a compliment to King James. History makes no mention of Lady Macbeth. Her character is almost wholly the creation of Shakespeare. In history, Macbeth fled before Macduff. Shakespeare shows Macbeth bravely fighting. He used Raphael Holinshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland, and Ireland as historical reference for his play. Before the curtain opens. When the play begins, there are 2 wars in progress. First, Civil War, King Duncan versus Macdonald's rebels. Second, National War, Scotland, led by King Duncan against invading Norway, led by King Sweno. King Duncan is the King of Scotland. Edward the Confessor is the King of England. The time period is in the 11th century. Shakespeare used poetic license to bend some of the historical information. Macbeth, Thane of Glamis, receives a prophecy from 3 of witches who predict that he will become Thane of Cawdor and king hereafter. His wife Lady Macbeth urged him to seize the opportunity and take the throne. One night, Macbeth murders King Duncan in his sleep and frames the cards for the crime. His best friend Banquo was present for the witch's prophecy and realized that Macbeth is responsible for King Duncan's murder. To protect himself, Macbeth has Banquo killed. Fleance, Banquo's son, escapes and is prophesied to become king. Macduff poses a serious threat to Macbeth, so the new king has Macduff crowned king. Malcolm and Macduff join forces and prepare for war. gave 3 new prophecies. To beware Macduff, that none of woman born shall harm him, and that he won't be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane Hill. Macbeth nearly assumes that he is invisible. Macduff forces camouflage themselves with foliage from Birnam Wood as they march on Dunsinane. Macduff, the product of a gruesome cesarean section, was not of woman born, and thus has the power to defeat Macbeth, who realizes too late that the witch's prophecies foretold his death and not success. Macduff kills Macbeth in the play's final act.
Macbeth is the lead actor of the play. He is a loyal general in the King Duncan's army. He transformed by the words of the witches and his own ambition into a murdering traitor. Lady Macbeth, the wife of Macbeth, whose ambition makes her drive her husband to murder the king, but who is then destroyed by her own guilt. The witches, evil creatures who speak riddles, use foul magic potions, and aim to destroy all goodness in Scotland. They are defeated by the power of good and true people. King Duncan, a good king whose country is attacked by foreign enemies and betrayed by traitors. He is murdered by Macbeth, his cousin and general. Banquo, a great soldier and a loyal lord. He is a friend of Macbeth, but a threat to him by his goodness and knowledge. He was murdered on Macbeth's order. Malcolm, King Duncan's son, a clever, honorable young man who, sensing danger, flees to England to raise an army and returns to Scotland to claim his rightful place as king. Macduff, a loyal, brave, and clever lord. He is suspicious of Macbeth. He flees to England too late to save his family from murder. He returns to Scotland to kill Macbeth. Fleance, Banquo's young son who escapes death thanks to his father's bravery and will be a father to a line of Scottish kings, fulfilling the witch's last prophecy.
Critics on religion in Macbeth. During the 19th century, critics began classifying Macbeth as a traditional Christian poem. Murray wrote most on this topic. These critics believe Shakespeare intended to write about Christian morals and ideas. Critics such as John Catt believed that Shakespeare had made no attempt to allude to religion in his play. John Catt, instead, asserts that Macbeth is meant to show the absurdity of the world, and the only key theme in Macbeth is simply murder. The critics involving religion began to die out by the end of 1900s. Critics on gender in Macbeth. In the middle of the 20th century, critics such as Marilyn French began critiquing Shakespeare's message about gender roles. Critics believe Shakespeare's work shows that his time valued women as mother over anything else. Marilyn also says that in the ending of Macbeth shows men triumphing over women with Lady Macbeth dead and the witches gone. Critics on witchcraft in Macbeth. Some critics, such as Harold Goddard, discuss the psychological meanings of the witches. Others believe they are symbolic of angels and devils. Most analyses agree that the witches symbolize what women become when they stop acting as they should. This also contributes to the gender roles portrayed in Macbeth, as it exhibits non-traditional women as evil.
Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done. Lady Macbeth says these lines to her husband in an effort to make him get over the guilt and fear he is experiencing due to the murder he has committed. She says that things which cannot be remedied should not be given regard to, or you should not think about things which you cannot rectify. She adds what's done is done, implying that there is no changing the past, so forget about it and move on. Although Shakespeare did not coin the phrase, what is done, but Macbeth remains one of the first recorded use of it, and it definitely made the phrase popular. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent underneath. This line is said by Lady Macbeth during a speech in which she is convincing her husband to pretend like a perfect host when King Duncan will visit them to hide their true purpose of murdering Duncan. Hence, she tells Macbeth to look like an innocent flower, but be like the serpent which hides underneath it. Yet do I fear thy nature, it is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. This line is said by Lady Macbeth after she reads a letter from her husband informing her of the prophecy of the witches, which said that Macbeth would be king. She is excited by the letter but fears that Macbeth is too full of the milk of human kindness, or too good a nature to take the shortest route to the crown, which would be to eliminate the king and seize the throne. Fair is foul and foul is fair, among the last lines in Scene 1, Act 1. This famous quote is said by the witches and sets the tone of the play. It could be simply deciphered as what is fair or pretty will become foul or ugly, and vice versa. For example, things would be opposite to what they appear. It could be also interpreted as suggesting that Macbeth's world will become upside down, and he will do things he considers foul or unfair, disregarding what appears fair to him. This line is among the most important in Macbeth, and can be considered closest to describing the theme of the play.